Hello, and welcome to English 1301. Today we're going to be talking about rhetorical analysis. What is rhetoric? Rhetoric is ability to communicate effectively. Effective rhetoric communicates clearly, is targeted to a specific audience, is geared toward one specific purpose, which is meeting a specific need for the audience, effectively and ethically uses the rhetorical appeals, which are also known as the Aristotelian appeals, because Aristotle is the one who came up with them, and meets the criteria required for the specific context. It means where, when, and how this argument is being made. So let's talk about the target audience. The target audience is who you need to convince. For example, if I'm the writer and I'm a student who needs more time to complete an assignment, who is my target audience? What is my purpose? And what is the context? So I am a student who needs more time to complete an assignment. Who do I need to talk to? What am I trying to accomplish? And what is the whole situation surrounding that I need to keep in mind? So my target audience is my professor, the person who has the authority to grant an extension if it is within their course policies. My purpose will be to convince my professor to allow more time on an assignment. And the context, the factors I need to keep in mind are that I'm in a college setting. I'm going to be using an email to my instructor. So college setting, email to my instructor, I know I need to be professional. And I know that if I'm emailing my professor, they may not hear my voice, see my face. So I need to get across the way I'm feeling and what I'm thinking in a professional manner, but in a clear manner with all the information my instructor needs. Also, I need to keep in mind the instructor needs to get all assignments graded in a timely manner and is teaching a large class. So the reason they may have for not granting extension may be just so that they can get everything done by a certain deadline. So I need to keep that in mind also. Also, the instructor may have a late work policy, so I can't just assume they're going to grant me an extension. But I do notice in the policies that they will work with students in emergency situations. So I need to evaluate, do I have an emergency situation that would be reason enough for the teacher to give me an extension. Also, I got to keep in mind the instructor does care about the success of the students. So when I'm writing it, I shouldn't sound like I'm expecting them to slap me in my face for asking this. I should assume they care about me and what I'm needing at that moment, right? So all of these are factors I need to consider in the email that I write to my professor in order for my request to have a greater chance for success. So here are the rhetorical appeals I was talking about, and also called the Aristotelian appeals because they were invented by the Greek philosopher Aristotle. Logos, which is logical reasoning. I'm using proof, I'm using what I'm saying makes sense, and I have evidence to support it. So using evidence. Ethos is the credibility of the author. So the author has the knowledge and experience to talk about this topic. And pathos is the emotions of the audience. So the author is aware of the audience's emotions and appeals to what the audience thinks, feels, and needs. So first, logos. Logos is logical reasoning and evidence. I could use deductive logic or inductive logic. It basically is anything that follows and is reasonable and makes sense. Examples of using logos, here's logical reasoning. If A is true, then it follows that B is also correct. For example, if Miss Kyler is a woman and all women are human beings, it follows that Miss Kyler is a human being. It makes sense. Accepting the rules of gravity, so if I accept those rules as true, if I throw a book up in the air, it will come back down. So we know from experience that when I throw something heavy up, it's always going to come back down. Other examples of logos, using facts and statistics, providing substantiated evidence. Ethos. Ethos is the author's credibility. It's a demonstration that the author is knowledgeable and experienced in the topic, so we can trust them as an authority on the topic. Here's examples of using ethos. In December, I watched The Rise of Skywalker 5 times in the theater, and I have watched every Star Wars movie that has come out since 1977. In addition, I have a degree in film studies from UT Austin. We would expect this person to have some credibility to talk about Star Wars from a more informed position. Other examples of ethos, examples from one's related experience, using credible sources that are cited correctly. Author's biographical information establishes education experience related to the topic. Remember, for example, if I had a degree in underwater basket weaving, this would not make me an authority to talk about some medical recommendations, right? Pathos is the audience's emotions. It's not the author's emotions, it's the audience's emotions. So it's understanding the target audience and appealing to their emotions. Here's some examples of pathos. If you do not follow CDC instructions, your family could get sick. So this is convincing us to follow the instructions because we don't want our family to be sick. We want our family to be healthy. The most intelligent people take this math course. This appeals to the desire for the audience for acceptance and approbation. We want approval. We want to be thought of as intelligent. The ending of the movie will melt your mind. This appeals to the audience's sense of curiosity, and as human beings, we desire stimulating experiences. So that's going to make me want to go watch the movie. So rhetorical analysis, there's two parts. First, there's analysis. When you analyze something, you examine the parts to understand the whole. That's why I went over logos, ethos, and pathos. Those are the parts that you need to look at to understand the whole. And also you evaluate. So you rate the strengths and weaknesses of the argument. So here's the analysis. Here's are the things that you're going to look at, the parts that you're going to look at to understand how the whole argument is working. You look at the author's topic. What is the author's purpose? What are they trying to get the audience to do? Who is the author's target audience? Who are they trying to convince to do this particular action? Who would it make sense would be able to make this change? What are important facts about the context? Where are all the places the author uses logos? Where are all the places the author demonstrates ethos? And where are all the places the author uses pathos? And finally, what is the author's overall argument? Then you evaluate. When you evaluate, you answer these questions. Is it clear what the author's purpose is? Is the essay or article tailored to a specific target audience? Would the audience be open to it? Would the audience feel like the author is meeting their needs? Has the author used enough convincing points? Could they have used more? Has the author used the appeals effectively and ethically? What could the author have done to make this essay or article stronger? And here's some different checklists that you can use when you're evaluating the different rhetorical appeals. Here's the evaluation of the logos. If it's strong and there's clear logical reasoning, it makes sense. Evidence is from reliable sources. They're not just pulling it out of the air. All claims are supported. All evidence points back to the overall purpose of the article or essay. So there's unity. If it's weak, they're using logical fallacies, which we talk about in another lecture. Evidence is from unreliable sources or uncited sources. Also, the claims are unsubstantiated. So they have unsubstantiated claims. In other words, they are making claims, but there's no proof or no evidence that it's true. Evaluation of ethos, strong. The author's background indicates they have the education and experience to address this topic. The author adheres to the rules of academic writing. They use words correctly. The author quotes from sources that are reliable and authoritative, and they cite those sources. Poor, the author's background has little to do with the topic. The author writes in a way that it suggests inexperience or lack of knowledge. The author uses sources more for emotional value. Example, using a movie star or star athlete to recommend a certain kind of medicine or toothpaste. We see that a lot in the advertisements where just because a movie star says something, it must be true. Well, the movie star is not an expert in medicine or toothpaste. If you want to have someone reliable, you would get a doctor to talk about medicine or a dentist to talk about toothpaste. Evaluation of pathos. If it's strong, the author tailors appeals to a specific audience. The author anticipates how the audience is thinking and feeling while reading the article. The author backs up emotional appeals with logic and credibility. They don't just rely on emotions. If it's weak, the author pushes his or her own emotions onto the audience. The author appeals to emotions without backing it up with logic or credibility. And the author takes unfair advantage of the audience's emotions. So look for these when you're looking at the articles. Here's a recap. Rhetorical analysis analyzes and evaluates the argument made in a piece of writing. Good rhetoric is tailored toward a specific audience, a specific purpose, within a specific context. Good rhetoric uses logos, ethos, and pathos effectively and ethically. For Essay 2, you will be analyzing and evaluating the rhetoric in a piece of writing and will write about that in an essay. You will have a rhetorical analysis walkthrough, which will help you, and I will be providing specific instructions for Essay 2. Thank you and have a great day.